المؤمن قوي المؤمن قوي المؤمن قوي المؤمن قوي.
Bismillah, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa
I'm
rahmatullah.
joking, I was just trying to put you on the spot there.
Okay.
But we have Sheikh Musa Adnan.
Subhanallah.
I'm joking.
Fam, Sheikh, the world
he's our brother Musa
Oh.
Adnan. Inshallah, soon to be Sheikh Musa Adnan.
Inshallah.
But yeah, we have him here today on Strong Believers podcast. We've been speaking for a long time before this, so hopefully he's left some energy for the podcast. Assalamu alaikum, bro.
Wa alaikum assalam.
How you doing?
How's things?
Alhamdulillah. What about yourself?
Alhamdulillah, it's a pleasure to be here. Can I mention where we are?
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
the exact area. Deep South London.
Not the
Allahu
postcode
Akbar.
or number, house number or anything, but
Deep South London. I was a bit scared. Actually, I had my iPad with me on the train. So when I got past central London, I thought, okay, I'm just gonna, put this away and just keep this a bit low key. But yeah, no,
Mashallah.
alhamdulillah, it's good to be here, bro.
alhamdulillah. Speaking of the iPad, you were showing us the iPad earlier. How has the iPad changed your life? He was basically,
Subhanallah,
guys,
don't get me
Musa
started.
was like really like, for the last half an hour or so, he was really selling us this iPad. I don't know if he's getting paid by Apple or something, but
They should be. Honestly, wallahi, I said to one of the brothers recently, I said to him, if Apple, I think I could genuinely make loads and loads of money for Apple. If they actually, because here's the thing, when you're selling something, you're selling something, isn't it? But when something's amazing, it sells itself.
yeah.
It's like that. Like, wallahi, even with this, I thought to myself, I feel like they didn't market it properly. Because if they put more money into the marketing and stuff like that, so many more people. I'm the only person in my uni classes that uses this,
Yeah.
and that's a bit surprising to me, because basically the way in which it's really, really helped me is recently I was telling the brothers just off camera. I had to throw away many notes of mine, even university notes. I had to throw them away from last year because it just racks up. Your reading, the uni notes, and it just all racks up. And now I've kept a book of my notes from uni last year, and the book is this thick. So it's it's not realistic. You can't carry that everywhere. You can't do everything with you. With this, literally the way in which I take notes has become so much more efficient now. So you buy the iPad, it comes with the Apple Pencil, and the pencil is literally, if you get the right screen protector, it's literally like writing on paper.
Inshallah.
And it's very accurate. You can sync all of your notes online to the cloud, Google Drive, and some products you buy just because it's like an impulse buy. With me, I actually went through a life problem that made me think, you know what? That's why when I saw this, I was like, I have to get it because I feel like it's gonna change my whole study type of study mindset and everything. So now, if I do need to write an essay for university, I don't need to bring in the past I had to bring papers, uni, etc. It was like that. I remember once my desk in the library was so cluttered. So now I just have to have this. If I need to open a book, open it. I got Kindle. Now even I'm purchasing books on Kindle. So last night I was reading a book called Art of War on Kindle. And even that I really, really like, because you can highlight and you can go to your highlights. So let's say you're making a video or you're making a blog and you want to put a nice quote in the beginning. You can just go to your highlights from what you've been reading, all of the books, and just grab a highlight. Yeah, this is what it is.
That's it.
So it's really, it's just convenient in terms of all study. And I went as far, recently I was in an Islamic class and I just dozed off, somewhere else for 5 seconds. And I thought to myself, if people like Ibn Taymiyyah, who it's reported that he wrote hundreds of books. He wrote hundreds of books, some of them in prison. And he was giving fatwa at a very young age, as we know, 17, 18. He was giving fatwa. In his 20s, he was doing huge things. And he'd done many, many things in his life. If people like that existed today, I believe they would have an iPad Pro. I believe that they would have an iPad Pro because it would make them much more efficient.
Yeah.
I can literally imagine someone like Ibn Taymiyyah saying, why am I going to carry 500 books with me? I can just carry one thing. It's got everything here.
What about the ulama? Do they use it?
They should, if they don't. I don't think they do.
I think maybe you need to give them that
But seriously, man, it will change their life. I'm telling you, akhi, it's changed my life.
They're quite handy, man. I used to take an iPad Pro, I think one of those I had from work, and I had a keyboard on it, and I used to take it to every class, and it's quite nice because it's compact.
Yeah.
But obviously, I used to use a keyboard to type.
You see, that's the thing now. With me, I could have been a bit more, because I'm becoming more and more of a minimalist as days go on. Yeah, I'm literally like, subhanallah. My mum,
You're losing your swag, bro.
yeah, my mum criticizes me, bro, and stuff like that. I feel like it's going up actually, but I don't know. Yeah, but so like with me, I had to justify this a lot in my head, and the way that I justified it is I thought, me, the type of person I don't like taking notes like that, sitting and like typing. I don't like that. And for me personally, it's not efficient. And there's also like studies done to show when you actually write down your notes, you internalize them more rather than typing them. So for me, I'm a writing person. I'm a writing person. So it really works for me. So like I'm getting the benefits of writing, and at the same time I'm taking my notes in an efficient way.
I feel like with handwriting, you can't be as fast as you can with a keyboard, but I guess maybe that's why you can internalize it.
Really?
But yeah, you're not as fast. So with me, I like to take in as much as I can from the class, because I feel like once that class is gone, I'm most likely not going to go back to it. So
that's true, you know.
He looks like he's changed his mind now.
No. No, because you know what, I was baffled because I was thinking, I feel like my writing is, maybe that's like, my writing is fast.
For me,
my typing is good as well.
Typing's faster, yeah. Like I can listen and like touch type and stuff, but you can't really like touch handwrite.
You know, this caused a problem for me though. There's one problem. I was speaking to some of the brothers about it. One problem it caused for me is because you can get very fancy with your notes. Like you can start highlighting stuff. You can put like a little diagram there, and like it kind of, when you draw a circle with like a messy hand, it will automatically detect you've tried to draw a circle, so it will make it nice for you. Yeah. So it's like, one thing I found when I first got it is I'm making all of these flashy notes. Like if you look at my notes now and when I first got it, which is like 2 weeks ago to be fair, but like when I first got it, bro, I was like flashy notes and highlights, and now I don't do that stuff because that was distracting me, bro. I'll be in the class and I'm not listening. I'm not listening to what the teacher's saying. I'm like highlighting. So like now, what I do is I just take the notes like normal, like I would on paper, and yeah.
But do you, like, after taking notes, like when you go home, do you kind of like revise your notes and then like make it neater and stuff like that? Or
I tend to do it like towards the end of the class. I start like making it neater. Or when the teacher, like in uni, sometimes the teachers just go off on tangents. You know, like one of my teachers in uni, I'm doing a module on empires. And he started talking about Trump and India and stuff like that, and how terrible everything is happening. So when they start doing stuff like that, I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna fix this up. That's what I do.
Sure. What's one of the interesting things you've learned in uni? Because currently you're doing empires. Was there anything interesting that?
Yeah, there's a few modules I've taken this year. Empires is one of them. Italian Renaissance is one of them. Yeah, one of the interesting things is the way in which I find the empires very, very interesting, and colonization, decolonization, imperialism, countries, the way in which that they made the difference between an empire and an imperial state. It's very, very interesting stuff. It sounds very boring, but when you get into it, it's very, very interesting, because these are the kind of topics. This is one of the reasons why I wanted to choose to study history in uni, because this is what I encourage my siblings to do and others when they come to me, is like study a subject that's gonna actually make you think. And I'm gonna say like a controversial statement out here, but like a lot of the typical subjects, even the ones that make you a lot of money, I won't mention any specific subject, but you can, if the shoe fits, you know, you can put it to it. A lot of the subjects that people study in university that are seen as very academic subjects are not academic at all. So like you're studying, and they're very memorization orientated. So you go into university and you're just expected to memorize like a handbook, and you come out, but you haven't expanded the way you think. But whereas if you study humanities, for example, whether it be politics, history, and subjects more to do with anthropology and stuff like that, what you'll actually find, sociology, what you'll find is when you like finish uni, the first 2 weeks of uni, you'll be like thinking like, whoa, this is crazy. Because they literally cause you to think. That your work is based on thinking. Why? How? You see, so like you're kind of going into, it's like they call it critical analysis. When you're looking at documents, you're analyzing them and you're thinking, okay, what makes this document reliable? What makes it unreliable? What makes it something that is significant? How did this change the world? For example, if we critically analyze the Quran and we analyze it the way in which academics analyze academic writings, we would come to amazing conclusions. But our mentality has often become, there's nothing wrong with memorizing. We all memorize Quran, I hope.
Yeah.
I memorize Quran, alhamdulillah, I try to do it. And like it's something beneficial and it's got a lot of virtues to it. However, the Quran did not come just for us to memorize it. Do you understand? It came for us to do tadabbur on it. That's the actual purpose. So the memorization should help you with that. And if you actually do tadabbur, which is what essentially they teach you to do in university in these sort of subjects, which is literally tadabbur, like reflect. What has made, and the deeper your reflections are, the better grades you get.
Wow.
So that's how they basically judge you in these sort of subjects. Whereas to say like you go into uni and like your grade is basically determined based on how much you've memorized, and I've come across people like that. They're like, bro, this is a memorization technique, we use this, we use that, etc. But in terms of actually implementing, it's not there.
Yes, subhanAllah. I think one of my teachers was saying how nowadays, even when it comes to Islamic sciences and stuff, people like focus more on memorization.
Yeah, it's true.
Whereas when we look at the Western academia, they try to focus on the thinking and like trying to like develop that why, how, this and that. So there needs to be both understanding, internalizing, and memorizing at the same time.
Exactly, because like I'll give you an example. Like once I was in a lecture, and the speaker, the lecturer, or a non-Muslim, he's talking and he forgot a very important date. Now I found that a bit like, okay, you should know that because you're like a professor and stuff like that. So that's where the memorization comes in. But in terms of understanding, they emphasize a lot on understanding, to the extent where last year, my first year in university, for the exams, I remember I went into one of the exam revision sessions, and the lady, she said, I don't even care if you don't write a date. And for history, that's crazy. Like, you don't write a date or a period. She goes, I don't care if you don't write a date. She says, I just want to know you've understood the themes of those dates. Do you get it? So like what was happening in society, how women were, like I done kind of like Greek history last year, and like I want you to understand, not necessarily when the Spartans were around or like what they were doing, but I want you to understand how the Spartans, the way in which they treated their women in comparison to the Athenians. The Athenians were very protective, they had a lot of ghira. The Spartans were like to the women, you can go do whatever you want, we don't care. So that we want you to understand these concepts, basically. When you understand the concepts, the dates will come. So it's like it's amazing how, but there's problems with Western academia as well, and you see that when you've got both, when you're studying both, alhamdulillah, like a lot of us are doing. Like we go to uni and we also attend Islamic classes. You see the problems with Western academia. So I'll give you an example. Last year I was in a seminar. And I remember being shocked. But I was shocked, and anyone who knew me in the class would have been like, well, he's actually like, what's triggered him now, yeah? But in the seminars, like all of us sitting around, and the teacher, she says, so this is a document from this time, etc. This guy wrote it. So I asked her a question, which is a very Islamically, it's a question from Islamic academia, which is, how do we know that this guy wrote this? She says, no, that's not how we work. She says, this is a primary source. Because in history, you have primary sources and you have secondary sources. Secondary source is me writing on a primary source. You see? So like a primary source would be like a document we found from 500 years ago. Me commenting on that writing becomes a secondary source. So people can reference my work if I'm an academic, but it's not as valued as them referencing the original. So she says, no, this is a primary source. It's from hundreds of years ago, and we see it as history. We know who the author is because it's there. And that's how it is. So for me, I had a problem with that. I didn't express it to her, but I had a problem with that. And that made me realize in the first year how these people look at history as reality. And when we look at it from an Islamic lens, subhanallah, a lot of this stuff could be like classed as just stories. A lot of this stuff.
But the funny thing is that even within the academia, they look at, did this person even exist? So if they're going to that level, why was that question such a big thing for her?
No, they don't necessarily go to this, but did this person exist?
Yeah, because I've seen so many documentaries. Oh, did Jesus exist?
Oh yeah,
did
for
Muhammad
example,
exist?
No, that's part of academia though.
Yeah,
but because here's the thing, you have to. we have different epistemologies, which is the way in which knowledge is sought. Yeah, so from the Islamic philosophy of seeking knowledge is you start with certainty. The hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that you leave ma yuribuk, leave what you doubt. Whatever causes you to doubt, you leave that. So if you're doing something, in terms of it comes down to wudu, salah, etc. You're doing something, leave what you doubt, and go with what you're certain about. You're unsure if you've done 3 or 4 rak'ah, do 3. Act as if you've done 3. Do that's sahwa at the end, etc. That's how it's done. But the point is, leave what you doubt. With Western academia, it's the direct opposite. It's we start with doubt. You see, that's honestly, that's the epistemology. And when I found this out, I was shocked. I remember I was shocked. I was speaking to Ustad Hamza. A lot of people know I work in IRA, and I was speaking to him, and I said, "Is that really how they think? No wonder so many philosophers committed suicide, because you're starting in a position of doubt." So, what does that mean, Noor, bro? That means we're here from the Islamic perspective. We're here. We don't overthink. We're here. Yeah, and God, how does God exist, etc. We come to it through rationality. Yeah, and also other things, not only rationality. From the Western philosophical standpoint, the way in which it's done is, okay, first of all, before I come to the conclusion that I even have rationality, I need to establish whether I exist or not. And that's where, I forgot his name. That philosopher. He said...
René Descartes.
I think it was him. He said, the one who said, I think, therefore I am.
I think it was him, yeah.
Yeah. So he says, I think, therefore I am. Why did he say that for? Because he's trying to establish whether he is or he is not. But he's saying that if I'm thinking right now, that means I exist. That's how they start. That's where their knowledge starts from. So in academia, they encourage you to question, but at the same time, they're very easy with taking. So it's a bit paradoxical, but they're very easy with taking. So like, that's an example. So if we found like a document and it said John of Norwich wrote this in the 18th century, we're just going to take it. We got no reason to question that. Why are we going to question that for? We'll carbon date it. Yeah, John of Norwich wrote it. We don't know if he was trying to forge something. We don't know, etc. That maybe we discover by doing more research. But that's how their knowledge kind of works. And it's different from the way ours works. And alhamdulillah for that. Because with us, if our deen was based on like that, that's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. So what they focus more on, because people don't know this as well, in history, I encourage people to read this like short book if you want to know about the way history works. It's a very short introduction. It's the Oxford series on history, basically. It's like 50, 60 pages, yeah? And all they explain in that is the concept of historiography, the way in which history is written. So, for example, now, recently, last year, The Guardian published an article, and they're speaking critically regarding the British Empire and the way in which that they colonize people, colonize lands, like India, for example, with the existence of the East India Company, etc. And then when you look at how the historians were writing at that time, though, they weren't writing like that. They weren't writing critically. They were writing in support of the British. You see, William Wilberforce, who was the one who, mashallah, tabarakallah, and it's a good thing he done. He spoke against the slave trade, the transatlantic slave trade, and he was part of the abolishment movement. However, what did he say with regards to India and what was going on at that time? He said, no, we need to forget all of the Hindi and Arabic that these guys are speaking. We need to push English on them. We need to push English because English, one like book in English is better than 10 books in Hindi. That's the kind of concepts that they were pushing. At that time, bro, that was pushed. If you read a history book at that time, or like a book on anthropology or society at that time, they would have been pushing that. That was their propaganda. Now, we criticize that. You see, so that's historiography. That's how history kind of changes, the way you look at things. So like, if you speak to a historian in this country about what's happening in, for example, Syria, from a historical perspective, he's going to tell you one thing. If you speak to a Syrian, he's going to tell you something else. And both of them are academics and historians, but they'll say different things. So that's where different histories come into play.
SubhanAllah. It's that's what's important as well, to read different sources and not just one or two, because
Exactly.
if you only read one or two,
Exactly.
you're going to be very one-dimensional and you're not going to see the whole picture.
Exactly. I was very confused some time back about how history works, because I found all of this initially very confusing, because I went into this degree thinking that everything is kind of like set in stone, and it's not. Everything isn't set in stone, and that kind of shook my iman with history, my history iman, if you want to say, yeah. So when I spoke to my dad was like, so I said to my dad, how do you know what's fact and what's not fact? How do you know in terms of history? And he said exactly what you said. He said, from wider reading. He said, you read one author, he says one thing. You read another one, he says another thing, but he differs with him. What is the one thing they all agree on? The one thing that they all agree on is Alexander did exist.
No.
You see? So like those people that you're talking about that say, did Jesus even exist? They're extreme skeptics. They're extremely skeptical. And that's why even Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he expresses in the Quran regarding thought, one of the things that we learn from the Quran is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks negatively regarding extreme skepticism, regarding dhann, like extreme
Suspicion.
Extreme skepticism is not good. It's going to lead you to like bad places.
Yeah.
Even with your mind, it's going to lead you to bad places. It's going to lead you to overthinking. It's going to lead you to depression. That's what happens. And with a lot of philosophers, that's what you find. That's why some of them committed suicide. They led themselves to extreme reflection, extreme thought, and they went somewhere else. It's with anything, any emotion. You look at your feelings. If a person was to directly focus on their feelings to an extreme level, they're gonna end up committing crazy stuff. They're gonna like destroy their soul.
Yeah.
And we see it in this day and age. We see it happening.
That's why it's so important to be balanced, no matter what you're doing, to always be balanced. Because when you become like extreme in any sort of field or thought or anything, it's gonna take you. Like you said, it's gonna take you somewhere where you should not be, man. And many scholars of the past have talked about this concept as well of having like your relationship with Allah, for example, being like a bird. With, at the front is love, on each wing is hope and fear. So you're always balanced. You're not having too much, because you can get depressed, man. I have people message on Instagram sometimes, and they're like, I'm depressed, I've committed this sin and that sin, and I committed zina, I drank alcohol, I did this and that, and they mention so many different things, and they feel like they've got anxiety now and depression, because they're like, I've done all of these things, and they fear too much for the akhirah now. So it's important to have a good balance of hope as well.
Extremism in anything is very bad. Extremism in anything is very bad. Some people, and we find it today all over the place. If it's all over social media, you find people being extremely lenient, extremely extreme to the other side. You find people like they will be balanced in everything, but they're extreme in one thing. And like I think that's like a lifelong struggle where we need to try and realize about ourselves. And subhanallah, Allah is the most merciful from the perspective, from every perspective, but specifically what I'm speaking about is a perspective of Him making you realize where you're going wrong, because that's a blessing in itself. Many of us, we realize where we're going wrong, and we know where we're going wrong, but we don't do nothing about it. And that's a problem. That's why in Islam, knowledge doesn't mean anything without amal, without action. It means nothing. It doesn't mean anything. Like, for example, now, every single person in this room knows that they should be praying their sunnah prayers. It's good for them to do that. But if you don't pray them, that's not going to change your life. It doesn't mean anything. A person can know, and they can have an existential, they can have a reawakening from that perspective, where they can know that Allah exists and I need to worship Him. This is craziness. This is amazing. But if they don't do it, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. Even Allah, it doesn't mean nothing to Him. That doesn't mean anything. It's like you can know that your mom done everything for you and you should love her and stuff like that, but then you go home and you abuse your mom. It doesn't mean anything. Your love doesn't mean anything. It's like when I was younger, when I was a kid, and I remember I would do like wrong things, etc. And my dad would like obviously discipline me. And my dad, one thing that he would say to me is my dad would get angry when I would apologize to him. Because I would come and I would say, like, literally sit down and say, Baba, I'm sorry, forgive me. I'm very sorry for what I've done, etc. He's like, it would annoy him more. It would annoy him more. He'd be like, don't apologize to me. And it's not even like I'm just saying that. He genuinely meant it. Don't apologize to me. Just fix yourself. That's the best form of apology. Just fix yourself. Don't do that again. That's it.
Subhanallah.
So it's amal, isn't it? It's action.
Yeah, I can imagine little Musa being proper cheeky and naughty
Bro.
as a kid, man.
Bro,
Bro,
trust me, my dad uses it against me to this day. Honestly. If I make any mistake, my dad's like, you always be like this.
Subhanallah. Do you feel like as you've grown, like you've got closer and closer with your dad because you're like doing you're kind of working in the same field and stuff?
Yeah, no, but not even from that perspective. It's amazing that that was a good observation, bro. You should study history or something, man. You should go into it, yeah. But like that's an amazing observation because with my dad, I've become very close to him. Shockingly, I think I used to be closer to my mum in all regards. My dad's taken it for me in some aspects. So like with
I
speaking,
hope your mum's not watching this.
yeah, no, and she knows this as well. Like with speaking to my dad for advice and stuff like that, that's increased a lot over the last, I'd say, year. That's increased a lot. Not hardly in terms of my educational stuff, hardly. More in terms of like life, in terms of like doing things, not doing things, and actually just like realizing things and like life advice. And my dad is one person, bro. Like my mum was telling me this. My mum told me this. My mum said like, and my mum said that once she was speaking to my father, and my father said, I go through problems as well. You know that I go through problems as well because my dad is one of those people. Like if you know him, and I'm sure a lot of our fathers are like this, where they don't show anyone they're going through a problem, and you don't know that they're going through a problem. Like wallahi, like the last problem that my dad went through, like even me now thinking about it, I can't remember. Like. But 100% he's gone through serious issues. But because all of us go through serious issues. And what my mum was telling me this like the other day, and the reason she was telling me is you need to be strong in life, because the strong people are the ones, they go through issues but they just deal with them, and they're strong. Their feet are firmly planted in the ground and they're just strong and they're just going through it, and you don't even realize. And when you look at them, they're always happy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's such a beautiful trait, and that's a trait that I see in my dad. And that's one thing that like I even make dua that I can be like, to the extent where you're just strong in everything.
Mashallah.
And just like everyone has seen with their family, you live with this person, you grow up with this person, so therefore you know this person's mistakes. And often what shaitan can also try and make us do is shaitan can make us disrespect people who are close to us, or not take them as seriously because we know their mistakes. Do you know what I mean? So like, let's say you spend time with a brother, and this brother is like a student of knowledge, or like he seeks a lot of knowledge and he's knowledgeable and stuff like that, etc. But then like you travel with him and you see he's got a few flaws in him. Like he missed Fajr one morning, he committed a few sins, or like you saw him doing something he shouldn't be doing. And like I believe this is from shaitan, where he causes you to completely discredit that person.
Definitely.
You are discredited, you are written off. But like, we all make mistakes, especially with our families, bro. Like our families know our mistakes. They know the wrongs that we have done. Do you get it?
Yeah.
Not all of them, but they know some of the wrongs that we've done. So it's about when you can see the wrongs that someone's done, though, and acknowledge them as a human being, and have that emotional, that empathetic, that emotional intelligence to realize that this person is a person that is a human being. However, I can still appreciate their advice, because for me, this is a person who's got a lot of wisdom. They've got a lot of knowledge. And I know for a fact, with this specific thing that they're advising me on, they're the best person to speak to. I'm not going to discredit them because they made that mistake. That is, if you have that trait, you're going to learn a lot of things.
It's true.
Because nowadays, especially in our communities as well, we have this mentality that he said that, khalas, he's written off. We've written him off. That's it. We can't take nothing from him. It's nonsensical,
I'm like that as well, to be honest, bro. Like, as in, I try to seek advice from my parents. It's usually my mum.
Yeah.
We have more of like a free, we can talk about anything really.
Yeah, I'm like that.
But I think over the years I developed, and I kind of worked on it to develop that.
Mm.
Same with my dad. We didn't have like a relationship where I could just sit down and speak to him. The first time I remember, like years ago, we were just driving. He was dropping me off somewhere. I didn't have my car at the time. He was dropping me off, and he just randomly started telling me a story about something that happened. Yeah, and I was like, I was waiting for it. I was just waiting. I was like, wait, I think he's just talking, innit? He's just having a conversation. Like it was proper weird, innit? Because I wasn't used to that, like me and my dad just having a conversation.
Wow.
But over time, like that develops. Like then, like now, alhamdulillah, as a family, would go out for dinner.
That's
and
beautiful.
like have conversations. The family would sit together and all of that kind of stuff. But I feel like it needs work. A lot of us, we tend to sit back and think, it's our parents' duty to do this, to cater this environment where we can come and speak to them and have a conversation. True. But not a lot of times, man. Like if Allah has guided you to something and He has given you knowledge and understanding of something, then you can go and implement it yourself. You don't need to wait for them to come to you to implement that.
So let me ask you a question then, bro. How can people? This is my hosting side kicking in. How can people? Did that ever affect you growing up, where you felt like I can't speak to my dad about certain things, or like even like to the extent where having a conversation with him is like surprising?
Yeah, definitely.
It affected you growing up.
Yeah.
Okay, so like I know for a fact that affects a lot of people growing up. That affects a lot of people, and how does one deal with that from an Islamic standpoint, and also just to understand? Just to understand and to be a normal person, because sometimes when you go through, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but when you go through some things like this, there can be aspects of jealousy for your friends. My friends can speak to their parents, and I know that, but I can't, for example, about certain things, and that frustration can sometimes kill people. Not literally, but like as in inside, they're dying inside. How can people deal with that?
Well, for me, subhanAllah, like it's a good question, because I think everyone's situation is slightly different.
Yeah.
But with me, as I was growing up, there was obviously, you build up a lot of stuff in your heart towards like your parents. Like if there's certain things that you felt they did wrong or they oppressed you in any sort of way, you have that built up.
Yeah.
And as I was growing up, like there would be times when I'd beef my dad or whatever, and we'd have like a deep conversation about something, and then I'll let go of those. But I remember one time there was something I remember, like he basically punished me for something that wasn't even my fault, and I must have been like maybe 5 or 6 years old, and this was back when I was in Afghanistan. So like from all that time, I think like 20 something years later, I mentioned to him, I was like, remember when you did this and that. Like to that point, like sometimes you can really, really keep things inside.
That's crazy.
But I felt like as I let go of that, like I felt like I was just freed.
This is it. And it's funny you mentioned that, because that's exactly what I was talking about. That's exactly what I was talking about when I was talking about you need to trust people around you. Because I found it as well, where there are certain family members where I would go to and I would ask them for advice, and bro, I know this person has just given me life-changing advice. Like this advice, like sometimes when you're giving advice you have like an epiphany. You're like, my God, this is crazy. That is deep. That's gonna change my life. I know that's gonna change my life, and it's from Islam and everything. But like I never thought of it like that. But it's like, what starts kicking in? What starts kicking in is you think, can I trust this person?
Yeah.
Can I trust this person? Can I trust my dad? Can I even can I rely on him like that? My dad done this to me when I was younger. My dad done that. My dad may have done this to my mum. My dad, like, you get it? Or my mum done this, and like my mum's emotional though. She thinks she's a bit rash sometimes. Like you start having this self-doubt. Like, and you go into this and you think, I can't trust my parents, and that's a big mistake. Because that's a big mistake. Like when you think about it, and that's the perspective where, bro, we're all human beings. If that's the case, you can't trust no one. You can't trust no one. Forget trusting your dad. Think about trusting one of these people that are doing crazy things. Yeah, we trust them. So
it's definitely from the shaitan, bro.
100%.
Definitely.
100%.
You can get that with your teachers. You can get with your parents, and I think especially like I feel like the greater the reward is in something you're doing, for example, towards like in obedience to Allah. Like for example, your parents. That's like the highest after obeying Allah subhanahu wa taala. Being obedient to your parents and keeping them happy and being kind to them is the highest form of obedience. I feel like the shaitan loves to put things, doubts and like whispers in your heart the most about those things, subhanAllah.
Yeah, he does. And it's because that affects people, bro. People don't realize how much that affects people. Like even there's like a YouTube video we uploaded recently on IRA actually, about the brother Adam Speaks. And I remember because I was checking the comments on that video. One person said, what if your parents have been abusive to you growing up and stuff like that? Like, people who write comments like that, like, I just want to talk directly. Like, do you think that all of us who like sitting here, talking here, have never faced abuse from our parents? You get that? This is not me like talking rubbish about our own parents, but like, do you think like that we've never faced issues with our parents? You think like we've had upbringings that you watch in movies, like, you know, it's like all flowery and like your dad's never hit you, for example, or your dad's never like punished you for something that he shouldn't have, or your dad's never made a mistake with your mum and you saw that growing up. Your dad made a mistake with her, he swore at her, or he done something. Do you think like, no, you think you're the only people that have gone through that? Everyone goes through that. We're all human beings. And some people, and we're not saying that this is the things that our parents do, by the way. There's a clarification there. But what I mean is, the point stands, do you think that our parents are perfect? Our parents are not perfect.
Definitely, yeah.
They're not perfect. They've made mistakes, yeah? Because they're human beings. Do you get what I mean? So you need to realize that your parents are the two people that want the best for you. They want the best for you. And whether you like it or not, they have more life experience than you. They have more knowledge than you in a lot of scenarios. They've studied more than you in a lot of scenarios. In terms of everything, they just know more than you.
Yeah.
So like, that's why once I was talking to my dad, and I remember he was giving me this advice, and I was finding it a bit difficult to take the advice. And he said to me straight, he just said it to me straight, I know more than you. In terms of everything, I know more than you. And this is not out of arrogance because I'm his son. But he's like, you have to trust me. And I still remember what he said. He said to me, I've got 20 years on you. I've got 20 years on you. So that 20 years means something. Just listen to me. Trust me. And like, one thing that affects me a lot, that I don't know if your parents have ever said this to you, yeah, but when my dad says to me, okay, do what you're doing, you're going to find out. That kills me. That kills me. Because I think, I know you're right, but don't say that. That hurts. Like, my dad said that to me recently about something, which I can share with you off camera. But he said that to me recently about something, and I was like, "Don't say that." Yeah, I couldn't take that, like, because I really want this thing. Yeah. But it's like, yeah, man. Like, it happens with marriage. It happens with marriage. You know, some people's parents, and like, come on, guys. Like, come on, sister. Like, you know, deep down, your dad is right. This guy is not for you, but it's just your emotions and all of this. You know that your dad is 100% right. This guy is not for you, and this is why, like, my way of thinking has changed a lot. Akhi. I don't know about you, Nuria, but in the last few years, bro, like, now, before I may have, like, if someone came to me and said my parents are refusing me marriage, maybe I would have said to them like some things like try and make them understand. Now, bro, if someone says to me that, and maybe I'll ask them a couple questions. First of all, do your parents have good heads on their shoulders? And you know that they have good heads on their shoulders. Because some parents you genuinely know. Now, like, my mum is good for certain, she's good in certain things, but she's really cultural. Like, that culture is going to mess me up. Like, and she's just imposing that on me. So you have to also have a brain yourself. Like, if your dad comes to you and gives you advice to do something completely wrong, doesn't mean you become blind to his advice. But I'm talking about, like, you need to know. And in the majority of the cases, the answer to these questions is yes, they have good head on their shoulders. Yes, they know what they're doing. Yes, I do trust them. Yes, in the majority of the cases, this is what it is. Then why aren't you listening to them? Why aren't you listening to them? That's the hikmah behind listening to your parents. There's a lot of barakah in it.
Absolutely, I agree, bro. I think, like yourself as well, in the last few years, that my mindset on that has also changed. Like if your parents are not happy with you, like, marrying someone, and they're giving you certain advice on certain things, they have the hikmah, they have the experience, they have the knowledge, and they know things, they can see things from a perspective that you can't see it. You're, like, seeing it from, like, you know, like a one-dimensional view. Especially, you see, like, most of the people that message us, like, on Instagram and stuff like that, they're still quite young. And I was reading something that there was, like, some paper or something. It was saying how that when you're growing up, up to the age of 21, your frontal lobe hasn't even fully developed yet, and that's the bit that you use to make decisions.
That's crazy,
So
man.
if you haven't even reached the age of
That
21,
explains a lot. No, seriously, that does explain
yes,
a lot.
subhanallah, bro. That's why you see so many like youth like jumping from this to that and making crazy decisions
That's
and not
subhanallah.
using the hikmah of their parents. They end up in like places where they end up being depressed and stuff. They're like, why didn't I listen? What have I done with my life?
Bro, let me tell you something, yeah. If I listened to my dad 4 years ago on certain matters, like 4 or 5 years ago, my life would be completely different now. I'll give you an example now, yeah? Uni. I'm in uni now, and I'm in my 20s, okay? My dad has been telling me to go to uni for the last 6 years. My dad has been telling me, go uni. Trust me. And he's even been telling me what to study. Qadr Allah, subhanallah, and this is a sad reality, innit, bro, yeah? Where like, I read one book, E.H. Gombrich, A Little History of the World. I read it, and I was like, I actually really love history. I need to go and study history now in uni. And then I applied to uni. So like all of that time, I didn't take my dad's advice. And eventually I ended up doing that. I ended up taking his advice. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, we do this a lot. We do this a lot. Some people, for example, their father will tell them, don't marry this girl. This is a tricky one, isn't it? Their father will tell them, do not marry this girl. She's going to destroy your life. She's not for you. And then they say, no, I'm not going to listen to you. Some people, actually, they leave their house, they run away.
Yeah.
I know people that have done this. Girls.
Yeah,
I know of girls, family friends, they ran away from their families, akhi. They married some like crazy guys and whatnot. And akhi, they regret that.
Yeah.
They regret that.
Sorry, one
They
second.
didn't listen to their parents. It's crazy, bro. Interval.
Why don't you
Is it-
keep rolling?
Is it not called?
Give a little reminder.
Is it not called interval? Yeah, so guys, it's important, man. It's important, akhi, man, to listen to your parents, bro. We learn it the hard way. There's like this hikmah, it's unexplainable. When you listen to your parent, yeah, there's like the sense of tranquility that you feel. There's a sense of tranquility that, you know what? I'm doing the right thing. The brothers have parked their cars in the wrong ways. It's my phone, bro. These, man, we don't have these on our era. But we don't have these for a reason. Because our producer, he doesn't dig these. I think they're cool.
The mics.
No, these type of on the arms.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, on the mics.
Well, this is pretty much like the cheapest,
No, these are good, man.
decent price, cheap, kind of like.
They don't feel cheap.
Products.
They feel good.
And the Shroom is the one that helped me pick up all the.
Shuraim.
all
I like that name, man. Shuraim.
So, bro, which of these nuts do you like the most? Unfortunately, Faisal had
These ones.
the better tray last week.
Really?
Yeah, we had 2 of these trays. Yeah, so it was all prepared. I asked Shuraim, I was like, which one do you think I should put out? He was like, put this one out.
This
So-
one?
No, the other one. So
No, this is nice. These
so
ones.
this was the second tray.
These are
which-
chickpeas, right?
I don't know really.
They're like mini chickpeas, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think they're like not fried, but what's the other word for it? Like when you
Baked.
Roasted.
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 Yeah, I think it's roasted chickpeas.
What's the difference between baking and roasting?
Baking you'd put in the oven, right? And then
Roasting?
roasting is like when you put in a pan and it's just
Frying pan, yeah.
yeah, like a frying pan.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Bro, have you ever tried rice? Yeah, with
Interesting.
with like almonds or
Akhi.
walnuts and stuff roasted and then put on top.
Don't mess around with me, bro. That is no. You not. You know which rice I like.
No.
This is why I love Arab food the most, akhi, yeah.
Yeah.
And some people I know what some people would say if they had it. Say, oh, this is very bland. This is very simple. Because like with us as Asians, we end up like
All the flavors.
the
innit?
biryani is like got 5 different colors in it, and it's like qabli plow, got raisins and
Yeah.
carrots and whatnot. We're very colorful with our food and flavoursome.
Yeah, yeah.
One thing that I like about Arab food, yeah, this is why when I go to like Saudi or maybe Dubai or like Qatar or like these sort of places, I love having basically the way they do their rice and the meat is amazing, bro.
Mm.
It's very simple, but they put cashews in.
Mashallah.
Have you had it with cashews?
I think I have, you know.
Bro, it's amazing, man. I'm telling you, that's like a good bid'ah, man. That's a bid'ah hasana, bro. They smashed it. Like they put cashews in. I actually prefer having nuts in the rice rather than like
On top
like
or separately, I mean.
no like rather than like raisins and like carrots.
Have you tried
Me having a dig. No, I actually do though. That's,
have you tried like walnuts or almonds with raisins at the same time?
oh yeah, that's normal though. That's like fruit and nut mix. You just have it.
Oh, you do that, yeah?
Yeah.
I thought that was
No.
just me or Afghans.
No, man, this fruit and nut mix. They have it in Asda, bro. Like everyone does that.
Yeah, but yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
That's not Afghans. That's everyone.
I thought it was our invention.
Every culture thinks they're better than everyone else. You know
That's
that.
true. But I love Pakistani and Indian food, man. I love it.
I think with Pakistan, with like. By the way, a lot of people they can't differentiate between Pakistani and Indian food. There's a difference, you know that.
Really?
Oh yeah, I'm being serious. So like for example now, are you from India, bro?
Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka, okay. So I'm just gonna make a statement. I don't know if Indians can defend it, but you guys maybe can play devil's advocate. But I think the difference is we have very same dishes. Basically, we have biryani. Everyone will claim biryani. Bengalis will say it came from here. Pakistan, everyone claim it. Yeah. So that's like a commonality. But you have dishes from Pakistan which are. They got like Pakistani cities in their name.
Mm.
So like they call it like Lahore Nihari. So like I feel like Nihari is like a Pakistani thing, or I feel like Halim is like a Pakistani thing as well, because it's like very much associated with Pakistan. I don't know. I feel like it is. One thing that's a Pakistani thing is like a chapli kebab and stuff like that. I'm trying to trigger Noor because these things technically they are Pakistani, but they're in Peshawar.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I didn't even know.
Namak Mandi is in Peshawar.
Oh. But yeah.
Namak
Actually,
Mandi is in
you're
Peshawar,
right.
but
Yeah,
Afghanis do it.
yeah,
But it's
yeah.
in Peshawar, so
But you know
technically.
what? Every region you go to,
That triggering didn't work because I didn't know.
every region you go to is different. And even in Sri Lanka, it's such a small island that depending where you go in Sri Lanka,
Yeah.
the food is so different.
Yeah,
Even
yeah.
India is the same. South Indian food is
Yeah.
completely
Mm.
different to like North.
I like, in terms of our own food, I'm not like a huge fan of biryani. Like I don't mind biryani, but I'm
Yeah.
not a huge fan of it. If someone's made biryani, I won't be like, oh my god, that's amazing.
Mm.
Like,
What's your diet now like, by the way, bro? Because we're on the topic of food.
yeah.
Do you try to follow the sunnah of like not eating too much?
So like when you pick me up,
Mm.
do you want to tell them what I was having?
he was having chocolate and he was offering it to me as well. I was like no.
I was having
no, thank you, bro.
the Milky Stars. Like I think that's what they're called. Yeah. But basically, no, there's a reason I was having them,
Mm.
because I'm having them in the morning. Do you get? That's
Also,
my
you
logic.
burn it
I'm having
throughout
I'm
the day or
having that in
something.
the morning. I'm not gonna
Yeah,
have
yeah.
that at night. Yeah. But basically, my diet. We had Firas Dahabi on our podcast, isn't
Yeah.
it? So like, bro, he's like, do you get what I mean? Like he's like the biggest trainer in the UFC. Not that we condone that, but like in terms of fitness, it means that he knows a
Yeah,
thing or
yeah.
two, to say the least. So he was talking about how nutrition wise, if someone wants to lose weight and they don't have time to train and they don't train or stuff like that, just 1 meal a day.
Mm.
1 meal a day. Go mad.
Are you following that? Yeah.
So I am, but like with my own kind of thing, because I think it's also important to know, because I was speaking with Yusha Evans yesterday. One thing that he mentioned, Ustad Yusha Evans mentioned to me, is he said something which is his diet is relative to him, the person he is. He knows what message, and I think all of us know, because we've like lived with our bodies for some time. We know what, if like, I know, for example, I'll give you an example right now. If I had like a chicken burger and chips right now, I'm gonna see that tomorrow.
Mm.
And I said this to some, were you there when I said this?
No, I don't think so.
I said this to some of the brothers, and the brothers were like, "You're gonna see it." They started laughing. They were like, "You're gonna see it, literally the burger." No, but for me, there's certain foods. If I eat them, I know this is gonna stay with me.
Yeah.
But like, if I had like a chapati, for example, with like I don't know, like spinach or something, that's gonna I know that's gonna be good for me. That's not gonna stay the way other food would stay with me. So I generally I try and have one meal a day, but I end up having two. Like for example,
Two's not bad.
because I don't have breakfast.
Yeah.
Do you get it? So like right now I'm actually hungry. So like by 2-3 p.m. I'll probably eat something, and then I'll probably eat again at like 8-9. That's me. But the way I'm trying to I try and manage it is I'm trying to eat less, and I'm trying to eat better food
Yeah, that's
as well.
good.
So I'm not gonna sit here and act like I'm eating you know, like some salads and stuff like that. But like it depends where I am, because with me I'm all over the place. Like right now I'm here. Okay, do you get it?
Yeah.
I can't carry meal prep. It's not realistic for me. So like, let's say for example we go to like a chicken shop. I'm gonna get the lesser of two evils. So I might get like just chicken.
Yeah. You
I'm
could
not
get like a grilled burger or
Yeah,
grilled chicken or
something like that, or like something like that.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to
I think people make diets and stuff a bit too like I don't know.
strict.
Yeah,
I
too
feel like
strict
people make
and-
it too strict, man. Because with me, I find it difficult to stick to like, I don't know. Maybe my discipline is not there yet, because I feel like I can build it up. But like for someone to say to me, you can't have one chocolate a day. You can't do it. If you're on a keto diet, you can't eat these foods. If you eat it, it's gonna mess up the keto. I don't like that.
The thing is with
Personally.
diets, bro, like it's hard to maintain.
It's really
You're
hard.
always gonna do it. Like maybe you
It's
might do
really
it
hard.
1 week,
I've
2
tried
weeks,
every
a
diet.
month. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Doesn't
bro.
work.
You're eventually gonna just drop
Yeah.
it. So the key is just try eat healthy.
Yeah.
Try not eat too much, and to also just exercise, bro.
Yeah.
Those are literally the things that you need to do. People make it too complex. Like, I'll follow this keto diet. You can't have carbs. You can't have this. Like, it's too much, man. It's not realistic. You're working, you're traveling, you're studying, you're doing this, you're doing that. You're going in and out. Like, you don't have time to like eat certain things. So it's just a matter of like looking at your lifestyle, and then trying to be balanced with it. Eat healthy, and train. That's what you really need.
Yeah. It's like
And a few cheeky like Snickers here and there.
Yeah, it's no, honestly, it's not a problem. Like even for me, recently, like my schedule has become very like I want to say very I'm trying to think of how I can word this. It's become very I'm having to do a lot of tasks that require a lot of like reading and like things that take a lot of your mind. Do you get what I mean?
Brain power.
Yeah, like a lot of brain power. So the way that I kind of translate that is, I think to myself, okay, if I'm going to do these things that require a lot of brain power, I need to make sure I have a very good time chilling. Like, do you get what I mean?
Yeah,
That sounds very weird, but like, when I have my free time, I need to make sure like I'm really enjoying myself. And like,
Mashallah.
wallahi, I'm a firm believer. I was also speaking to another brother, he's studying at SOAS, doing politics. I might as well say the brother Adam Speaks, the one who we done the podcast.
Okay,
I don't know if you know him, if you met him before. Very, very inspirational brother. But he was even saying the same thing to me. He said that because he's studying a lot and stuff like that. What he feels is very important is that when you do have your free time, you're very much like maxing it out. Like you're chilling. If you want to lie down, you lie down. If you want to like go on YouTube and just binge, no problem. If you want to be like as unproductive as you can be, do it, no problem. So long as in that time, you know, you're doing work. Did you go uni?
Yeah.
You went uni. Have you guys? So you both obviously went uni. So have have you guys heard of the Pomodoro method of studying? Yeah. Have you heard of that?
No.
So basically, yeah.
Oh, the 25 minutes.
So,
Yeah.
last year, I was having a lot of like problems, man. Like studying and focusing in studies. Like I'm in the library, I'll end up on Instagram. So I had a meeting with one professor, and with some of these professors, I don't know, sometimes I think we like kind of like cut them short. But like I remember once I was this, and they said, yeah, she graduated from Cambridge, she done this in Yale, and I was like, oh wow, that's really good. You start kind of. So then I thought, let me use these people because they're here at my service. So let me like, they're always saying, guys, if you want to have a meeting, just like email me, let's have a meeting. And I think that's one of the best things that you can do when you're at uni. Like take advantage of these people you have around you, because they're very productive people. So I had a meeting with one of the professors. So I sat down, and the advice I was given was crazy, bro. Like the advice that they gave me is like they showed me a computer, and on the computer they said, this is a Pomodoro timer. You work for 25 minutes, and then you have 5 minutes. You can do anything you want. go on your phone, you can do anything you want. And I started using that, and it really helped me, because when you're doing that 25 minutes of work, when you get tempted to like procrastinate, and you get tempted to like go on Instagram or whatever, you just look towards that 5 minutes. Do you get what I mean? And when you go on that 5 minutes now, because you've probably been on Instagram before, like there's nothing to see, there's nothing to do, you just end up going back to work after, even before that 5 minutes. But like then you go 25 minutes again, and bro, imagine now this is how it makes sense to me, isn't it? Yeah, you do 3 hours of work, bro. In 3 hours, you only wasted 15 minutes. Wait, no, it's 10 minutes per hour, because 5 minutes, right? Half an hour. In 3 hours, you wasted half an hour.
Yeah.
But in 3 hours, how much work did you get done? You got done literally like, what, 2.5 hours?
Yeah, subhanAllah.
Bro, you work for 2.5 hours, but you only wasted half an hour. And some people may be like, oh, but you wasted half an hour, etc. Try it without the technique. You'll be shocked. Like,
That's
bro,
true.
there's sometimes, like, you should monitor your time like this, yeah? There's sometimes, bro, you'll sit down for 3 hours. Actual work has been 40 minutes. I'm not exaggerating. Actual work has been 40 minutes. Where you're actually, like, reading, you're not procrastinating, you're not talking to the guy next to you. And when you do this with your friends, it's even better. So, like, me and, like, this other brother, Adam, like, when we meet up at uni and we study together, we'll put the time on at the same time. That 5 minutes, we'll talk to each other. And then we'll go back to it. So
I think it's good that you have someone to do that with as well. I think it probably makes it easier.
It helps.
But a couple of other things that I find that works really well for me is, like, if I want to study, I say, you know what, or read or something like that, I'll be like, you know what, I'm going to read for 10 minutes. I don't give myself like a huge like task.
It's so beneficial.
The moment you start, like
It's
you
so
might do 10 minutes, 15 minutes, then before you know it, you're really into it.
Yeah.
And you end up doing half an hour or an hour. Another thing that I found was if you take like little short naps or just close your eyes for like 5-10 minutes, it really helps as well.
Yeah.
You look like you're gonna show us something.
Yeah, I wanted to share something based on what you just said.
Yeah.
Because I want to kind of like back up your point, which is, so I mentioned that I'm reading like on Kindle, right? This book called Art of War. Have you heard of it before? Sun Tzu.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've heard of it. It's a very famous book, like really popular book, and it's only 34 pages. It's a very short book. It's basically like rulings of war. Like
Tells
what
you like how
do
to
and
defend yourself, how to attack,
how to
all of that
attack and stuff
like
like that. It's very, very, very good, yeah. Because
Actually, you're not trying to like start something.
this is the clarification now. It's very good because you can implement it in your life with issues that you're going through. So I'll give you an example. Last night, I must have read, bro, for 10 minutes. And bro, the amount of things I picked up, bro, was so good. Do you get it? Like, and that's the benefit of reading. Like, if you set in your schedule, I'm gonna read 10 minutes every day, you end up reading like books at the end of the year, rather than setting time, not doing it. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, look, let me share like, for example, one thing, just like that I kind of like highlighted. So for example, now he says, thus we may know that there are 5 essentials for victory, and he mentions like 5 points. The point that I highlighted, which I found was really, really interesting, is he says, he will win whose army is animated by the same spirit throughout all its ranks. Do you get that? So the army that's spirit is animated throughout all its ranks is gonna win.
So all motivated or got the same intention.
Exactly. Yeah. So like, you know what I thought about? When I read this, I thought about the Muslim armies after the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's passing, which we know within a couple hundred years we were in France, up until Spain, akhi, the Sahaba, akhi, who were the people of Quraysh, had reached places like Multan, like close to where we're from, akhi, like that's absolutely like mind-blowing, bro. And we're not talking about taking planes, we're talking about like literally, bro, camels, donkeys, horses, everything, you name it, getting there and literally like conquering lands. And obviously they conquered with armies, right? Bro, doesn't this point make so much sense in relation to that? Where the spirit, if you look at the spirit that the Sahaba had and these people at this time, because what did the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam say? He mentioned خير الناس قرني ثم الذين يلونهم ثم الذين يلونهم. Yeah, if I quoted the hadith correctly, yeah, which is that the greatest of people or the best of people are my people, then the people that come after them, and then the people that come after them. These were the people, these Salaf that we're speaking about were the people that conquered these lands, akhi.
SubhanAllah.
And if you look at, if based on that understanding that we have from Islam, if you look at this statement of this guy who's probably not a Muslim, yeah, but he's very highly referred to in terms of war strategies and stuff like that, and you think about it, when they were conquering lands, 100%, that's one thing that we can say for sure, they had the same idea of what they want to do. They wanted to spread Tawheed, they wanted to spread monotheism across all of the lands, they wanted to spread the Quran, the truth that had come to them and liberated them, taking them from min al-dhulumati ila nur, it took them from darkness to light. They wanted to spread that was the spirit that was running throughout all of the ranks.
So you're saying, because I know some people can listen to this and be like,
No, I'm
so
not.
you're saying that
Come on, guys,
the
man, let's
Muslims spread Islam by the sword?
The Muslims spread Islam by the sword?
Yeah.
Partially. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it did though.
Yeah, they did.
It did. They conquered lands. Like,
no, but they're gonna.
there's no apologetics here. Like,
Yeah, but no. What I'm saying is like they're gonna be taking it as like all the places they conquered.
okay.
It was only through the sword.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, no. This is the thing now.
Hmm.
First of all, Islam was not in its totality spread by the sword. First of all. Secondly, when people make this statement, there's a connotation linked to it. This is a clarification. There's a connotation. And that connotation is Islam was spread by the sword. No. You legends. The Islamic empire was spread by the sword.
MashaAllah.
Islam was not spread by the sword.
Yeah.
Islam was not forced upon anyone. Yeah, the Muslims came to a land just like when they came, and you have people like Bab and Kai, Jewish writers. When the Muslims came to Spain, they were welcomed with open arms. They were welcomed with open arms. We have Jews writing about the Muslims allow us to live. The Christians were persecuting the Jews, akhi, and the Muslims allowed them to live in peace and harmony. They kept peace and harmony. You pay the jizya. What is the jizya? A small amount of money, bro. Small amount of money. The Muslims have to pay 2.5% tax. People get even caught up about the jizya. Muslims have to pay 2.5% tax, by the way, yeah? Every single year. That's your zakat, okay? Based on if you reach the nisab. The non-Muslims in comparison, akhi, come on. Do you get what I mean here?
Yeah. I remember watching a video by your dad actually. He
Yeah.
was going into this, and he was saying that in many cases, the non-Muslims actually pay less of the
Yeah.
tax than the Muslims.
Yes.
And they're still getting the same sort of like protection, the defense, and all of that kind of stuff.
Protection, you can have your churches, you can have your swines, you can have what you're doing, you can have your wine, you can drink, etc. You can do whatever you want. You do that in your home, however. You can't preach, you can't be outside preaching, etc. But you can have your church, you can worship, you can do whatever you want to do in your church. Yeah? You can have that, but you live in harmony with the community and you don't break the law. You don't break the law. So when you think about it, Islam was not forced upon these people. However, we do have people coming to Islam in these lands, but that was completely voluntarily.
Yeah.
Islam cannot be forced on people. Their Islam is not valid.
Yeah.
That person's Islam does not count, akhi. You can't force someone to become a Muslim and then you say, oh yeah, they're going Jannah. It doesn't work like that. Islam is a voluntary religion, meaning you have to believe in it.
Yeah, that's the thing, bro. Even a person that is born into a Muslim family, they still have to accept Islam themselves. It's not like I was born in a Muslim family, so I guess I'm just Muslim. No, you have to actually submit. You have to acknowledge that you believe in Allah, His messengers, and the books that Allah has sent. All of that stuff, the revelation, you have to actually believe in it, and you have to actually have conviction of it.
This is what I'm saying, Noor. There's nuances to these conversations, yeah, and people make it out like it's black and white. Like they say statements like Islam was spread by the sword. No, you're not understanding. Empires were spread by the sword. The British Empire, whether it be the Ottoman Empire, whatever empire we're talking about, the Romans, the Byzantines, the Romans who we all look up to, the Renaissance looked up to. They literally looked up to the Roman. And by the way, the Renaissance, the Italians, do you know how they got access to the Romans and the Greeks? The only people at that time who had the translations were the Muslims in Cordoba, in Spain. So, it's crazy. Like, you have to know with the right understandings what we're speaking about here. So when we're speaking about Islam was spread by the sword, that's a false statement. The Islamic empire, the growth of it, involved the sword. 100%. No one's gonna deny that. You're silly if you deny that. Yeah. What you think Muslims were just walking into lines and sitting down and okay guys, we're gonna rule today. It's not like that. Yes, it was spread by the sword. Yeah. The Islamic Empire. Islam was never forced upon people.
MashaAllah.
The choice was never
good clarification.
Yeah, the choice was, the sword was never put to someone say, you become Muslim or you die.
Yeah.
It wasn't like that. The choice was given, you become Muslim or you pay the jizya. That's it.
Yeah.
And the jizya, what? Like if someone says to you,
but we pay more tax here.
Thank you. There you go. Like, come on.
We pay more tax here. Like, the minimum you'll be paying is like 20-25% tax.
And let me ask you a question.
And if you're earning more, you're paying 40-50%. Like,
if you don't pay tax in this country, what happens to you? If you don't pay tax in this country, what happens to you?
You'll get...
you get the tax man on you. Can you face prison? You can face prison. Yeah. You can face long time in prison for tax evasion, depending on how much you evade. So... These are false arguments against Islamic Empire. So what? Do you want them not to tax? Do you want them not to tax?
They want the cake and to eat too as well.
Yeah, you got to tax, akhi. You got to tax. Every society taxes people. You know.
That's fine. I think it's a very good clarification you made there, mashallah.
Yeah.
I'm going to use that next time.
Islam
spread, the Islamic Empire spread by the sword, but not Islam itself.
Islamic empires, they all, the Abbasids, the Umayyads, etc. You have the Ottomans, you have, even I don't actually know, Pakistan didn't do anything, but I was going to say that they created themselves. But man, I think this is what comes from objective reading. Objective. You have to be objective when you talk about these things, and that's very respected in society when people can look at situations and be objective. Like when we can look at, for example, Christians, and what, like a Christian speaker, and say this guy's really good at what he does. He's really good at what he does. It doesn't make Islam not the truth by acknowledging that someone is good at what they do. Do you understand? To say like a Jew is good at what he does, or Jewish people. For example, the way in which Jewish people have set up their society in this country is amazing for their community. It's amazing. It's really, really good. They have the Hadzola. I remember I was sitting in A&E once, and I remember this is literally what happened. I can still remember it like it was yesterday. Two guys come in, ambulance guys, and they're wearing kippas. And then the boy on the stretcher is also got a kippah on. So I thought, there's no way that's a coincidence. What's going on here? Yeah, there's no way. Like two Jewish guys. What's going on here? So then I see the back of the uniform and it says Hadzola. I still remember. Yeah, I remember googling that, and that's the ambulance service here. Akhi, imagine we had that. That's beautiful, and you have to give props to them for that. Meaning, you acknowledge that's a good thing. Muslims have this thing where and this can cause a lot of doubts in people's minds as well, because it's dishonesty, bro. Where when we talk about other communities in a negative way, no, they're not doing this properly, no, but they don't have this, but they don't have tawheed. Yeah, we know they don't have tawheed. But that if someone doesn't have tawheed, it doesn't mean that they are stripped of like some good things that you can get in this dunya. No,
for sure. But even the Prophet ﷺ used to take the good from other nations. Obviously,
Salman al-Farsi.
Nothing religious and stuff like that. Yeah, like Salman al-Farsi.
The suggestion he came with.
The trenches, right?
Yeah, the trenches. At Uhud. That suggestion was given by Salman al-Farsi. Why? Because the people from where Salman al-Farsi was from, the Persians, that's what they would do. So the Prophet ﷺ took that advice. Even the Sahaba, when the Prophet ﷺ would speak about certain matters, sometimes the Sahaba asked, is this wahi? Because in the Quran, وَمَا يَنْطِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَىٰ إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا وَحْيٌ يُوحَىٰ. Is this wahi? Is this from Allah? Or is this your opinion, Ya Rasulullah? And of course, they value the opinion of Rasulullah. If it's your opinion, that means we can have some say on it. We can talk about it. But if it's wahi, then that's from Allah. We can't have a say on this. You understand?
Yeah.
So they would give suggestions, just like Salman al-Farsi gave that suggestion. So yeah, man, it's important to understand these nuances.
Bro, like a while back, you were doing like these like short videos on Instagram where I think it was like you're doing reflections and stuff over certain ayat and stuff like that. I haven't seen them in a while.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask you, are you planning to continue them, and what we to expect from you since to kind of finish off so we can make it to the first Jum'ah, inshallah.
Subhanallah. I'm joking. That's good. That's fine. I'm definitely going to be coming back, inshallah, with
Inshallah.
some specifically that actually I'm going to be doing a series focusing ayat on the Quran, and I'm going to be calling the series Divine Messages, inshallah. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be highlighting some ayats from the Quran and showing people how you can take the Quran and implement it in your life. There's a statement that's attributed to Imam Hassan al-Basri radiallahu anhu, may Allah be pleased with him. And the statement was that where he expressed that the people before us used to take the Quran as messages from their Lord. They used to take these ayat as messages from their Lord. So I think many people nowadays, they don't do that. They don't take the Quran as a message from Allah. Imagine taking the Quran like that. And the way in which you do that, for example, an example of that is you have ayat in the Quran and you implement them in your life and you use them as solutions. So an example is Allah says in the Quran, Allahu latifun bi ibadih, that Allah is kind to his slaves. So let's say you're going through a test right now and it's really, really bringing you down. You know for a fact you're a slave of Allah. You worship Allah, you try your best for Allah, etc. And if you don't, that's where you know you need to fix up. But let's say you do, and you know you're really trying your best. You do struggle, but you're trying your best. You need to remember Allahu latifun bi ibadih, that Allah is kind to his slaves. There's another one, for example, in Surah Baqarah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala expresses to us, He says, وَلَا تَنْسَوُا الْفَضْلَ بَيْنَكُمْ, that do not forget the fadl, the virtues between you. The way in which you can implement this ayah in your life is, let's say you have a disagreement with your wife, you have an argument with your wife's going crazy, you're going crazy. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is expressing here, don't forget the virtue between you. And you can implement this ayah in different relationships in your life, between your parents, you and your parents, you and your wife, you and others, you and your friends. Don't forget. And it's just like a Quranic maxim. It's like a principle in the Quran. By the way, there's a difference here. We're not saying this is tafsir. We're saying this is you seeing the Quran and relating it to your life. You're doing tadabbur of the Quran and relating it to your life. We're not saying this is what Allah meant when He revealed this verse. However, this is what we can get from the verse. So you're going through a problem between you and your friend. Be that person to fix that problem. Why? You're not forgetting the good things that you had between you. You get what I mean?
Yes,
so implementing these ayat in your life, they can literally change your life and the way that you look at your life and problems in your life. Instead of going to a sheikh even, instead of going to people for advice, messaging yourself, messaging me, messaging other people, etc., and like being doomed and gloomed, etc., open up the Quran and find a verse that you really relate with at that time. And a person that does that, that's a person of Quran. This is a person of Quran, and we know the people of Quran are the people of Allah.
Definitely.
And why is that a person of Quran? One last point before we end off, inshallah. The person of Quran, there are two things needed for a person to be a person of the Quran. The first thing is qira'ah. He needs to be reading the Quran. So where does that come in that example I just gave? This person is reading the Quran. Every time he has a problem, he's reading the Quran. He's going into the Quran. So he's reading it. The second part is implementation of Quran. He's implementing the Quran. Allah told him, don't forget the good things between you. Allah told him, Inna ma'al usri yusra. Allah told him, Sayaj'alu Allahu ba'da usrin yusra. That Allah will make after hardship ease. He's remembering that. And he's thinking, okay, you know what? I'm going through a rough time right now. Afterwards, there's going to be a lot of ease. And that's it. That person is a person of Quran.
SubhanAllah.
May Allah make us from them.
Ameen. I think it's a very good point to touch on. It's basically like always knowing that your Lord has the solutions to the problems. Whatever problem you have, there's a solution in it in the Quran, and it's just about making that connection between you and the Quran and the words of Allah. Like some of the Salaf used to say that if you want to speak to Allah, then pray. If you want to Allah to speak to you, then recite the Quran.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
Yeah, it's an important point.
The Quran is a key thing, man. You know that we have people, we mentioned it before, and we can't go in podcasts and in our work without mentioning such amazing, great people. People like Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah. You know one of the last things that he said before he passed away? One of the last things that he said is, he said that I regret that I didn't spend the majority of my time with the Quran.
SubhanAllah.
And now let's just clarify who we're talking about here. This is a person who would quote the Quran off the top of his head. One. This is a person who had memorized the Quran. This is a person who knew qira'at. This is a person who gave rulings on qira'at. This is a person who, akhi, people would see him in the masjid at Fajr. They would come back at midday, akhi. Let's say Fajr is at 6 a.m. They see him at 6 a.m. They come back at midday. He's still doing adhkar and reading the Quran. They would ask him, what are you doing? He said, this is my futur, this is my breakfast. If I don't do this, I don't feel right.
Yeah, SubhanAllah.
And this person is saying, I regret I didn't spend the majority of my time with the Quran. So what about me and you? We don't spend 5 minutes with it.
It's one of the companions that said that if our hearts were pure, then we'd never get enough of the Quran. Right?
Yeah.
Was it Ibn Mas'ud or Ibn
I don't know.
Abbas? Yeah.
I don't know.
But one of them said it, SubhanAllah. So may Allah grant us pure hearts and allow us to have a connection with the Book of Allah and allow us to invoke Allah for all our needs.
Ameen.
But bro, it's been a pleasure to have you on here.
Bro, it's been my pleasure.
I've really enjoyed
Step
this.
foot in South London. Allahu Akbar.
Alhamdulillah. You're definitely going to be invited for future podcasts, inshallah.
Definitely.
I feel like
I've got my place, yeah.
You got it, bro.
I want it.
You made it. Yeah, bro. Like I feel like we can just speak on and on. So
yeah, definitely,
inshallah,
man. Definitely
more to definitely be seeing more of you, inshallah.
Inshallah.
May Allah bless you and
Likewise, bro.
grant you success in this world and the next.
And you too, bro. May Allah
Barakallahu
bless you, man.
feek.
Wa feeka barakallah. We're gonna do a fake handshake
Yeah, I can do.
with the camera.
Yeah, my hands are a little
Alright,
sweaty
bro.
as well.
Nah, it's all good.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.